The planet Valoris was known across the nearby star systems as a place of judgment. Its skies glowed with pale blue light, and its cities floated above vast crystal plains. Every 10 cycles, beings from many worlds gathered there to witness a single event that decided honor, alliance, and trust. This event was not a war, but it was not peaceful either. It was the trial of worth. For the Illyrians, the rulers of Valoris, strength alone was never enough. They believed true worth came from action under pressure. They invited warriors, tacticians, and champions from many species to compete, not to destroy each other, but to reveal who they truly were when faced with fear, pain, and impossible odds. High above the main arena sat Kaelara. She was an Illyrian of high rank, tall and graceful, with silver-toned skin and eyes that reflected light like still water. Her long robes marked her as a strategist and observer, not a fighter. She had watched many trials in her long life. Very few competitors ever surprised her. Today, she expected nothing new. The arena below was vast, carved from living stone and surrounded by rising energy barriers. Thousands of spectators filled the floating platforms around it. Voices echoed in dozens of languages. Some species cheered loudly. Others watched in silence. Kaelara's gaze moved calmly across the competitors standing at the center of the arena. They were an impressive group, towering reptilian warriors with thick armor-like scales, insectoid fighters with bladed limbs, energy beings contained in shimmering fields, all of them powerful, all of them confident. And then there was the human. He stood near the edge of the group, noticeably smaller, his frame slim compared to the others. His protective suit was simple, worn at the joints, showing signs of repair. His helmet was off, revealing a young face marked by exhaustion rather than fear. His name, according to the records, was Jaren Holt. Kaelara almost looked away. Humans were not unknown to the Illyrians, but they were rarely impressive in these trials. Too fragile, too short-lived. They relied heavily on machines, and when those failed, they often failed with them. Yet something made her pause. Jaren did not shift nervously. He did not look around in awe or fear. He stood still, hands relaxed at his sides, eyes focused on the arena floor, as if he were already planning something. The trial began without ceremony. A low hum vibrated through the stone as the arena shifted. Walls rose, platforms separated. The competitors were scattered across different sections without warning. The first phase was simple in purpose and cruel in execution. Survive. Creatures engineered for combat emerged from hidden gates. The environment itself became a weapon, with collapsing ground, sudden gravity shifts, and energy storms that tore across open space. Kaelara watched as the stronger species rushed forward, meeting danger with force. Some succeeded. Others fell quickly, their confidence turning into panic when raw power was not enough. Her attention drifted again to the human section. Jaren found himself on a narrow stretch of stone suspended above a deep chasm. The air shimmered as gravity fluctuated. Across from him emerged a massive four-armed creature, its skin thick and dark, its eyes glowing with hunger. The creature charged. Jaren ran but not away. He sprinted toward a broken pillar, leapt, and slid beneath the creature's swinging limb. The ground cracked where the creature struck. Jaren rolled, came up on one knee, and activated a small device from his belt. A sharp pulse of sound echoed. The creature staggered, disoriented. Not harmed, just confused. Jaren did not press an attack. He moved. He ran toward the edge of the platform, drawing the creature after him. The gravity field shifted again, stronger this time. At the last moment, Jaren dropped flat and dug his fingers into a crack in the stone. The creature did not stop in time. It slid, claws scraping uselessly, and vanished into the chasm below. Silence followed. Kaelara leaned forward slightly. He had not overpowered his enemy. He had not destroyed it. He had observed, adapted, and acted with perfect timing. As the trial continued, similar moments unfolded across the arena. Some competitors fought bravely but fell. Others survived by hiding, only to be caught later when the environment changed. Jaren kept moving. He climbed when the ground collapsed. He waited when energy storms passed. He avoided unnecessary fights. When he was forced into conflict, he ended it quickly and without cruelty. Lara began watching only him. At one point, Jaren encountered another competitor, a tall, avian-like being with damaged wings. The alien was cornered by automated sentries, its movements slow and unbalanced. Jaren could have escaped easily. Instead, he threw a piece of debris to draw the sentry's fire, then used the distraction to guide the wounded alien toward cover. He did not speak their language, but he gestured clearly. Move. Now. The avian hesitated, then followed. They separated soon after, but the moment stayed with Lara. Helping another competitor brought no advantage. In fact, it increased risk. Why do that? As the first phase ended, energy barriers flared, and the surviving competitors were pulled from the arena. Medical drones swarmed, treating injuries and escorting the wounded away. Less than half remained. Jaren sat on the stone floor of the recovery chamber, back against the wall, breathing heavily. His hands trembled slightly as the adrenaline faded. His suit was scorched in places, torn in others, but he was alive. Around him, other competitors glanced his way, some with curiosity, some with new respect. High above, Lara stood in silence. She reviewed the data flowing across her display. Reaction times, decision patterns, stress responses. Jaren's readings were unusual. His physical strength was average, his endurance was strained. But his adaptability score was far higher than expected. His fear response never vanished, but it never controlled him either. Fear acknowledged, fear managed. She had seen many warriors who claimed to feel no fear. Most of them broke when things went wrong. The second phase would begin soon, and it would be harder. Lara folded her hands behind her back, eyes still on the human. For the first time in many cycles, she felt something unfamiliar during the trial. Curiosity, not about whether the human would win, but about how far a being like him could go, relying not on strength alone, but on something quieter and far more dangerous. Resolve. Below, Jaren closed his eyes for a moment, unaware of the gaze upon him. He thought of Earth, of the long journey that had brought him here, and of the promise he had made before leaving. He would not quit, not today. When the chamber lights shifted, signaling the next stage, he stood again, steadying his breath. The trial was far from over. And somewhere above, an Illyrian strategist watched closely. Her attention no longer divided. As the human stepped forward once more, the second phase of the trial began without warning. The recovery chamber faded into darkness, and the floor beneath the competitors dissolved into light. For a brief moment, Jaren felt weightless, his stomach tightening as if falling through empty space. Then the world snapped back into form. He stood alone. Around him stretched a wide, artificial valley under a dim, amber sky. Tall stone structures rose like broken teeth from the ground. Strange plants glowed softly, their leaves moving even without wind. Somewhere in the distance, a low mechanical sound pulsed like a slow heartbeat. Jaren did not move right away. He had learned his lesson in the first phase. Rushing forward without understanding the environment was a quick way to fail. He crouched and pressed his palm to the ground. The surface felt warm, but stable. Gravity felt normal. Air breathable. Good enough. Across the valley, other competitors appeared in flashes of light, each placed far apart. This phase was not about fighting each other directly. That much was clear. A calm, emotionless voice echoed across the valley in many languages at once. This phase will test judgment. You will face choices. Some will appear simple, some will not. Progress is possible only through action. The voice faded. Jaren exhaled slowly and started walking. As he moved between the stone structures, symbols lit up on the ground beneath his feet. Some glowed green, others yellow, a few red. His suit's translator could not identify them. He frowned. Traps? Signals? Warnings? He picked up a small stone and tossed it toward a red symbol. The moment it touched the ground, a sharp burst of energy erupted, turning the stone to dust. Jaren stepped back. "All right," he muttered to himself. "Not red." He moved carefully, following paths marked by green symbols. The environment shifted subtly as he advanced. Walls rose and fell. Paths curved where none had been before. This was not a maze built of stone. It was a maze built of decisions. Soon, Jaren reached a wide-open area. At its center stood a tall, glowing pillar. 3 paths led toward it, each marked by a different symbol. Green, yellow, blue. Before he could choose, a sound caught his attention. A heavy, uneven breathing. He turned and spotted another competitor nearby. It was a massive alien, broad-shouldered with thick, plated skin. One of its legs was twisted at an unnatural angle. Clearly injured, the creature leaned against a stone wall, struggling to stay upright. Jaren froze. Helping would slow him down. The pillar was likely important. Other competitors might already be ahead. The alien noticed him and lifted its head. Its eyes were dark and unfocused, filled with pain rather than threat. It did not raise a weapon. It did not speak. It simply waited. Jaren felt the familiar weight in his chest, the kind that came when there was no clear right answer. He looked at the paths. He looked at the alien. Then he sighed and walked toward the injured competitor. Slowly, he knelt and examined the damaged leg. The armor was cracked. The joint beneath was swollen and wrong. "I don't know if this will help," Jaren said, knowing the alien might not understand the words, but understanding the tone. He removed a stabilizing brace from his suit, something meant for his own injuries. Carefully, he secured it around the alien's leg, adjusting the tension until the shaking eased slightly. The alien released a low sound, not aggressive, not friendly, but relieved. Jaren stood and pointed toward the green-marked path, then toward the alien. The creature hesitated, then nodded once. They moved together, slowly. High above the valley, Kalara watched. She stood in the observation chamber, surrounded by shifting holographic displays. Data streams flowed constantly, measuring stress, efficiency, success rates. Most competitors chose the fastest route. Some ignored others completely. A few eliminated rivals when given the chance. The human did not. Again, Kalara felt a quiet tension form behind her eyes. Not annoyance. Not approval. Interest. The green path narrowed into a corridor that tested balance and timing. Platforms appeared and vanished. Energy fields pulsed unpredictably. Jaren guided the injured alien carefully, timing each step. When the alien stumbled, Jaren steadied it. When his own legs burned with effort, he did not stop. At the corridor's end, the alien paused. It reached out and pressed a large hand briefly against Jaren's shoulder. A simple gesture. Gratitude, perhaps. Then it turned and moved off through a side passage, one that had not been visible before. Jaren blinked. The path had opened only for the alien. So much for efficiency. He chuckled weakly and continued alone. The valley shifted again. This time, Jaren found himself inside a vast chamber with a high ceiling. At the center lay a circular platform. On it hovered a small, glowing device. A reward, but something felt wrong. As he approached, he noticed faint energy lines crisscrossing the floor. The glow was beautiful, almost inviting, too inviting. Jaren stopped just short of the platform. He scanned the area with his suit. The readings spiked immediately. The device was a trap. Anyone who took it without disabling the field would be overwhelmed by a neural shock strong enough to end their trial instantly. Jaren sat down and rubbed his face. "Think," he whispered. The field was powered by the chamber itself. No obvious control panel, no visible generator, but energy had to move. He traced the faint lines with his eyes. They converged at 3 points along the walls, hidden behind decorative panels. He smiled. Slowly, carefully, he removed a tool from his kit and climbed one of the walls. It took time. His arms shook with fatigue. More than once, he nearly slipped, but eventually, he reached the panel and pried it open. Inside, a small energy node pulsed. He disabled it. The field flickered. 2 more nodes to go. By the time Jaren reached the final one, his muscles screamed in protest. Sweat stung his eyes. His hands felt numb. But when the last node shut down, the chamber went silent. The glowing device dimmed, then settled gently onto the platform. Jaren approached and picked it up. The moment his fingers closed around it, the device transformed into a simple marker that attached itself to his suit. Progress confirmed. The voice returned, softer this time. Judgment recorded. Jaren laughed quietly, relief washing over him. Elsewhere in the chamber, another competitor made a different choice. They rushed forward, seized the glowing device, and collapsed instantly as the trap activated. Kaylara watched the contrast play out across her displays. The data was clear. The human did not just survive, he understood. As the second phase neared its end, the environment grew more hostile. The amber sky darkened. The ground shook. Paths collapsed behind those who hesitated too long. Jaren ran when he had to, crawled when he could not run. He slipped once and scraped his arm badly, biting back a cry as he pulled himself up. Still, he moved forward. At the final extraction point, a beam of light descended from the sky. One by one, competitors stepped into it and vanished. Jaren arrived last. He hesitated only long enough to look back at the shifting valley. Somewhere out there were choices he had made that slowed him down. Others might call them mistakes. He did not. He stepped into the light. When the chamber reformed, Jaren dropped to one knee, breathing hard. Medical drones immediately moved in, sealing his wound and stabilizing his vitals. Around him, fewer competitors stood now. Many had failed. Some had been removed. Only a small group remained. Kaylara descended from the observation platform, her presence commanding immediate silence. She did not speak yet. She simply walked among the survivors, her gaze calm, unreadable. When she passed Jaren, she paused. Her eyes met his for a brief moment. Jaren felt a strange pressure, as if she were seeing far more than his tired body and battered suit. Then she moved on. But something had changed. Jaren sensed it, and high above, as Kaylara returned to her place, she acknowledged a truth she could no longer ignore. The human was not winning by accident. He was becoming something the trial had been designed to find. And the hardest test was still ahead. The third phase began in silence. There was no voice this time, no explanation, no warning. Jaren stood with the remaining competitors on a wide circular platform suspended high above a glowing alien ocean. The water below shimmered with moving lights, as if something vast and alive stirred beneath its surface. The air was cooler here, heavy with tension. Only 7 competitors remained. They stood far apart, each aware of the others but careful not to show it. This phase felt different. The earlier tests had challenged survival and judgment. This one felt personal. Jaren rolled his shoulders, ignoring the ache in his muscles. His body was tired in a deep, slow way that sleep could not fix. Still, his mind stayed sharp. He studied the platform carefully. No walls, no cover, no obvious traps. That worried him. A sudden vibration passed through the platform. Lines of light spread outward from the center, forming a wide arena. Energy barriers rose along the edges, cutting off escape. Then the ocean below began to move. From the glowing depths, shapes rose slowly, breaking the surface. Massive constructs formed from water and light climbed upward, solidifying as they emerged. Each one stopped before a competitor. Jaren's construct finished forming last. It stood twice his height, shaped like a distorted reflection of himself. Same stance, same proportions. Even the same small tear in the suit sleeve. The realization sent a chill through him. This was not a simple enemy. The constructs moved. The others reacted instantly. Some charged, some fired weapons. One competitor was thrown back hard, hitting the barrier with enough force to knock them unconscious. Jaren did not move. He watched his reflection carefully. The construct mirrored his stillness. When Jaren shifted his weight slightly, it did the same. When he raised his hands, it copied the motion perfectly. "Of course," Jaren murmured. "You're me." Around the arena, the sound of combat grew intense. Energy clashed. Stone cracked. One competitor fell, their construct dissolving as medical systems pulled them from the platform. Jaren's construct tilted its head, So did Jaren. If it copied everything, attacking would only invite equal force. This was not about strength or speed. It was about choice. Jaren took a slow step backward. The construct followed. He stepped forward. It matched him again. He closed his eyes for a brief moment, blocking out the noise, the pressure, the crowd watching from above. He thought of the earlier phases, of the injured alien, of the traps he had avoided not by force, but by patience. Then he did something unexpected. He sat down. The construct froze for a fraction of a second, then sat as well. Jaren opened his eyes and looked directly at it. "Let's try something else," he said quietly. He reached into his suit and removed a small ration pack. With slow, careful movements, he placed it on the ground between them and slid it forward. The construct stared at the pack. Then it reached out and did the same motion, placing nothing on the ground. The difference was clear. The construct could copy motion, but not intention. Jaren smiled faintly. He stood again and took a step to the side, moving toward the edge of the arena. The construct followed. At the last moment, Jaren stopped and turned sharply. Instead of attacking, he bowed his head slightly. The construct hesitated. That pause was enough. The platform beneath the construct flickered, destabilizing briefly as the system struggled to interpret the non-hostile action. The construct glitched, its form blurring. Jaren did not waste the moment. He stepped forward and placed his hand flat against the construct's chest. "I'm not your enemy," he said. The construct froze. Light rippled across its surface. Then, slowly, it dissolved into harmless particles that drifted upward like mist. Jaren staggered as the pressure vanished. Across the arena, only 3 competitors remained now. The rest had fallen, overwhelmed by brute force, speed, or their own fear. High above, Kalara stood perfectly still. She had seen this phase many times. Most failed it. Even strong warriors could not face themselves without trying to destroy what they saw. The human had chosen understanding instead. The platform shifted again. The remaining competitors were drawn toward the center as the arena reconfigured. This time, the space grew smaller. The barriers closed in. This was the final confrontation of the phase. No constructs rose from the ocean now. Only the competitors remained. A low hum filled the air as energy fields locked into place. The meaning was clear without words. Only one would stand. Jaren's heart sank slightly. He had hoped this phase might end differently. The nearest competitor was massive, armored, and clearly injured but still dangerous. Another stood across the platform, eyes glowing with focus. The third was farther away, calculating. Jaren took a breath. He did not rush forward. The armored competitor did. They charged the nearest opponent, colliding with brutal force. Energy flared. The platform shook. Jaren moved sideways, keeping distance, watching carefully. He looked for an opening, a way to end this without killing or permanent harm. The 2 other competitors clashed again, one clearly overpowering the other. The third competitor saw Jaren and advanced cautiously, weapon raised. Jaren raised his hand slowly, palms open. "I don't want to fight you," he said, knowing translation might fail, but hoping intent would carry. The competitor hesitated, just for a second, then the armored one slammed into them from the side, sending both skidding across the platform. The impact knocked the weapon free. It slid across the stone, coming to rest near Jaren's feet. Jaren stared at it. This was his chance. He could pick it up, end the fight quickly, secure victory. Instead, he kicked the weapon away, off the edge of the platform. The armored competitor roared and charged again. Jaren braced himself. He dodged the first swing, barely. The second grazed his shoulder, sending pain down his arm. He stumbled but stayed upright. The competitor was strong, but slow. Jaren led them toward the center, where the platform's surface shimmered faintly. He remembered earlier readings. This section was unstable. At the last moment, Jaren dropped and rolled aside. The armored competitor did not stop in time. The platform beneath them collapsed, forming a containment field that locked around their body. They roared in frustration as the field hardened, immobilizing them. One opponent down. The remaining competitor rose slowly, battered but alive. They looked at Jaren across the arena. Neither moved. The ocean below glowed brighter, as if waiting. The competitor made a decision. They lowered their head and stepped back, moving toward the edge. They raised their hands in surrender. The system reacted instantly. A beam of light enveloped them, pulling them safely from the arena. Silence fell. Jaren stood alone. The energy barriers dropped. The platform stabilized. He did not raise his arms. He did not celebrate. He simply stood there, breathing hard, legs trembling. High above, Kaylara felt something tighten in her chest. The human had won the phase. Not by domination, but by restraint. Medical drones descended, surrounding Jaren. One scanned him. Another sealed his injuries. As the adrenaline faded, his knees finally gave out, and he sat heavily on the stone. He looked up at the vast alien sky, exhaustion finally catching him. "I'm still here," he whispered. As the platform began to rise, carrying him away, Kaylara turned from the observation window. The final phase awaited, and she already knew that whatever came next, the human would face it not as a challenger seeking victory, but as something far rarer, someone worthy of being chosen. The final phase did not begin in the arena. Jaren awoke in a quiet chamber filled with soft white light. The air was warm and still, carrying no scent of metal or energy. For a moment, he thought the trial was over and that this was a medical bay. His body ached, but the sharp pain was gone, replaced by a deep, heavy tiredness. He sat up slowly. The room was empty except for a single chair placed in the center. No restraints, no screens, no weapons, just silence. Then the door opened without a sound. Kaylara entered. She moved with calm purpose, her long robes flowing lightly behind her. Up close, her presence felt stronger than it had from the observation platform, not threatening, but focused, like a quiet gravity that pulled attention toward her. Jaren stood at once, unsure of protocol. She raised one hand gently, signaling him to sit. "This is not a test of obedience," she said in clear, simple words. "You may sit, if you wish." Jaren hesitated, then sat back down. His heart beat faster than it had during the battles. Kaylara studied him for a long moment. Not his injuries, not his suit, his face. "You are aware," she said, "that you have already surpassed the expectations set for your species." Jaren shrugged weakly. "I just did what made sense." "That answer," Kaylara replied, "is exactly why you are here." She gestured, and the walls of the chamber shifted. The white light faded, replaced by a vast display of stars. Hundreds of worlds drifted slowly across the room, each marked by faint symbols. "Our people do not choose protectors lightly," Kaylara said. "This role is not one of power, it is one of burden." Jaren listened carefully. "There are threats beyond our borders," she continued, "forces that do not respond to strength alone. We have learned, through long and costly experience, that intelligence without empathy fails. Order, without compassion, becomes cruelty." She turned to face him again. "You have shown us another way." Jaren swallowed. "I'm not special. I was scared most of the time." Kaylara's eyes softened slightly. "Courage is not the absence of fear," she said. "It is the choice made while fear is present." The stars shifted again. Images appeared moments from the trial. Jaren helping the injured alien, disabling the trap instead of taking the reward, facing his own reflection and choosing not to fight. "You acted without certainty of reward," Kaylara said. "You limited harm even when harming would have been easier." She paused. "Our laws allow me to choose any competitor as our protector," she said, "but rarely does the choice feel clear." Jaren sensed what was coming, and his breath caught. Kaylara stepped closer. "I choose you." The words were soft, but they carried weight. For a moment, Jaren could not speak. "Me?" he finally said. "I don't understand. There are stronger warriors, smarter minds. I'm just human." Kaylara inclined her head slightly. "That is precisely why," she replied. The chamber shifted once more, and the stars faded. The walls opened, revealing a vast council hall. Illyrians filled the tiers, their expressions unreadable. Other species stood among them, representatives of worlds far beyond Jaren's experience. A quiet tension filled the air. Kalara led Jaren forward. Every step echoed. She stopped at the center of the hall and turned to the assembly. This trial was created to find those who reveal truth through action, she said. Today, that truth stands before you. Murmurs spread through the hall, some curious, some doubtful. Kalara raised her hand, and silence returned. The human did not win by force, she continued. He did not dominate. He endured. He adapted. He protected others at cost to himself. She turned to Jaren. Will you accept this role, knowing it will demand sacrifice without promise of glory? Jaren looked around the hall. At the alien faces. At the weight of expectation pressing down on him. He thought of Earth. Of his family. Of the promise he had made to himself, to represent humanity with honor. He met Kalara's gaze. I don't know if I'm enough, he said honestly. But I won't turn away if someone needs help. I won't choose the easy path if it hurts others. Kalara nodded once. That is all we require. She extended her hand. Jaren hesitated only a second before taking it. The contact was warm, grounding. Not a claim of ownership, a symbol of trust. A soft glow spread through the hall as the bond was recognized by the Illyrian systems. The murmurs grew louder, shifting in tone. Surprise turned into consideration. Consideration into respect. From the upper tiers, an elder Illyrian stepped forward. Let the record show, the elder said, that this choice marks a turning point. The hall dimmed as the moment settled. Later, as the council dispersed, Kalara walked with Jaren through a quiet corridor overlooking the crystal plains of Valoris. The sky beyond shimmered with starlight. You will not be alone, she said. This role is shared. Guidance will be given. Jaren nodded. I'm still learning. So are we, Kalara replied. They stopped at a balcony. Below, ships moved like slow sparks across the horizon. Kalara looked out over the stars. For a long time, she said, we believed worth could be measured, calculated, proved through trials. She glanced at him. You reminded us that some things must be chosen. Jaren followed her gaze, feeling the weight of what lay ahead. He was no conqueror, no legend, just a human who refused to look away. As the light of Valoris reflected in the sky, Kalara spoke softly, almost to herself. I watched the human battle alone, she said, and when the moment came, the choice was clear. She turned to him, a rare, gentle smile touching her face. I choose him. And in that quiet moment, surrounded by stars and silent worlds, humanity took its place, not through strength, but through the simple, powerful act of being worthy.